I'm going to call the meeting to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, June 16, 2025 meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. I just have a couple of announcements. The next Select Board meeting is going to be 3 weeks from today, on Monday, July 7. So the holiday in there, so it's Monday, July 7 is our next meeting. Want to remind everybody that there's a 4th of July parade. We like to see everybody come out. I think it starts at 10, but I think they must start lining up at like 9:15, 9:30. You can check social media or probably, is it on the town website? On the town website, there should be information about the 4th of July parade. It's the same as usual. Do we have any other acknowledgements before we turn over for acknowledgement? All right, so we have with us today in the back, State Representative Steve Ouellette, who came to present a citation.
Hello. I'm gonna just stay up in front. Carol's not.
You just have to have a mic is all. That's
Yeah, I know that routine. Okay, so I asked to have it before the board. Paul used to do that once in a while, so Westport person that received the award can get some recognition. We also had the pleasure of awarding Fernando Guerra last week too, so it's been a good time for recognizing people who put a lot into the community. Come on over so I can read to you. So, the citations from the House of Representatives, hereby known to all, the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers sincere congratulations to Carol Freitas in recognition of your profound contribution, sacrifice, and service to our country yesterday, today, and tomorrow. We honor you. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success to all endeavors by the Speaker of the House and myself. There you are. Can you just grab a picture for me, please?
Yes.
1 second.
Who found the picture of me?
Yeah, it's fancy.
That's a great picture of
Personnel
you.
file, maybe? Hold on.
Do you have a speech, Carol?
No.
No?
Okay, here we go. One more time. Got
Thank
it.
you very much.
Congratulations,
So just
Carol.
so-
Thanks for all you do.
So just so the board knows, this is the first Military Appreciation Day. So she's our inductee for the first one, and hopefully, we can recognize more people in the future.
Great,
All right?
thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
I just want to make note, there was a public hearing that we had at our last meeting that was continued until today, but it was inadvertently left off of the agenda, so we didn't properly post for it. So the public hearing for the petition from Verizon New England and NSTAR Electric doing business as Eversource to install a jointly owned mid-span pole on the east side of Drift Road in front of 1024 Drift Road. So we didn't properly post that, so we can't discuss it. So I would like to have a motion to continue the public hearing to July 21 at 6:05 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Is there anybody here for that hearing? No. All right, all in favor?
They had requested a continuance.
They requested it, yeah. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 yes and 1 absence. We have license and permits. We have a request from Weatherlow Farms for one-day wine and malt beverage license for the following events. This is a series of dinners and picnics. They all received favorable police reports. So we have July 12, a picnic dinner from 5 to 9. July 16, film series from 5 to 9. July 26, picnic dinner from 4 to 9. July 30, film series from 5 to 9. August 9, picnic dinner from 5 to 9. August 13, film series from 5 to 9. These are pretty standard, all the paperwork in order, and we have the police recommendation.
Move approval of the licenses for each of these events.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Anything from the audience? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous with one absence. Or 4 in favor with 1 absent. Then we have, the second one was continued hearing from June 2nd, a request from the Packagug Inn, doing business as Packagug Inn, 2056 Main Road, to increase their hours from 4:30 to 9 daily and to allow an additional 20 seats on the patio. So Paula, is that what we're, I had a note that we were not going to talk about the additional seating.
And I was just going to talk about the hours.
Okay, so right now, so the additional seating is, we're not going to talk about that right now. You're not requesting that today, right?
Apparently not, but I would like an explanation.
Okay, all right, so do you want to come? Okay, so we had 2 requests. One is to add more days of the week onto your hours, and the other was to add additional seats. So Paula, can you just tell us, like, the additional seats required additional approval from the Board of Health, right?
It's an alteration of premise, yes, so it's, it can be approved on the local level, but we're waiting for more approvals, for an approval from the Board of Health. She has filled out the paperwork, and that's all in order, but they just need, they're waiting for clarification on a couple of things from the state for that. She's informed us too, since then, that it's not really, she doesn't want to add an additional 20 seats, she just wants for people to be able to go outside and have the liquor license cover that. So at this point, it's not really an additional 20 seats, she has a license for 37, and possibly some of those 37 people moving to outside.
Okay. I don't think I understood that exactly. Okay, so for the alteration of premises, there's another sign-off required?
Yes.
From the Board of Health?
Yes.
And she submitted the paperwork, but we haven't received that yet? Okay. And then for the change of hours, though, the paperwork is in order for that?
Yes.
All right, can you just talk about the hours that you have now and what you're changing to?
Right, the hours that I have now are 5 to 8, and actually I'm sticking with those hours for now. It's just that I noticed that in the wintertime when it's dark, most of my guests like to come when it's still a little light, so I wanted them to be able to come at 4. And I don't really care about the 9, we just put that in there.
What is it that you would like to change the hours to?
So 4 to 9, oh, when?
What change to the hours are you requesting?
These are the change that I'm requesting, but not now. I mean, I'm not going to use any more hours right now. I guess it doesn't matter.
I'm just trying to understand what you would like us to approve is all. So
A change of hours,
a change of hours from what to what?
from 5, opening at 5 to opening at 4, and closing at 9 instead of 8.
And did the days increase too, or were the days the same?
Well, it's not really a day's increase, it just has to be written that way, because right now I'm only open 2 days a week, and I don't intend to be open more days a week, but I don't want to have to come back. Say, we decide we want to do like Saturday afternoon croquet games, or something like that. I want it to be in place that that's okay. Actually, Saturday is already okay, it's just Sunday that's not okay.
So and Paula may know, but I think they were approved for 5 days,
Right now it's.
Or to-
Saturday.
Tuesday to Saturday from 5 to 8.
Mhm.
You want to go 7 days a week from 4 to 9.
Right, but I don't, again, I'm approved for those hours, those are not presently what the hours are going to be. I know it doesn't make any sense.
I just have, I have several questions, but is there any stipulation that if a place is open, if someone is using a liquor license, there are limited number of liquor licenses, right? Do they have to be open the times that they're saying on their permit, or it doesn't matter?
Yes.
They're only allowed to be open for whatever's in the
They're only allowed
permit,
to be open,
but they
right.
don't have to be open for all of the permit hours?
Right,
Okay.
I think they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
And
they-
if they're not, they're supposed to send a letter.
Some of the restaurants are closing over the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's been done in town, but, like, say Bayside,
Yeah,
they should really be letting us know that from March, you know what I mean, from whatever to March they're closed, January to March. And actually, in the regulations that I've read, we should actually be taking licenses during those periods when they're saying they're not open. So there is something to that.
Okay, but so there's a couple of places that they close seasonally, they completely close, right? I guess I was looking more on the terms of, if they say they're gonna be open 7 days a week and they're only open 2 days a week, is that allowed? Because, they're consuming one of the licenses in town. I just don't know the answer. It sounds like.
If it's for the sale of alcoholic beverages, I think there should be some restrictions in terms of openings and closings by the ABCC. When it comes to any other types of activities, I think that's at the discretion of this board.
Okay.
With guidance from whoever boards that we, like the Board of Health, that may have to weigh in because of food's being served and things like that,
Okay, but
or prepared and served.
the current permit is Tuesday through Saturday, 5 to 8. Is that right?
Correct.
So Tuesday through Saturday, 5 to 8 is the current permit. And you are asking us to change that to 7 days a week, 4 to 9?
Correct.
That's what the application said, right? Daily, open daily, 4 to 9.
Okay, but you don't
Looking
want
at
to,
all of it.
Well, then,
I have the application.
my question would be this: if I want to alter the hours, do I just have to come back every time I want to? Like, if I want to open at 4 starting in October, do I,
a change of hours, you'd have to come get permission, yes.
so, but every time I modified the hours, then I'd have to do that?
If you are, so this is the part I don't understand. If you're making that, if you're permitted for a certain number of hours and you're open for fewer hours, that's one thing. If you're permitted to start at 5 and then you're opening earlier, that you definitely, like, if you're permitted for
Right,
5 and you're open
yes,
earlier than
yeah.
that, you definitely have to come back. So I think what you're trying to get at here is that you want the permit to start at 4, but you're not really going to start business at 4 until it starts getting darker.
Correct.
So you're not immediately going to adjust, you want the permit to cover starting at 4 PM, but you're not immediately going to change your business hours to 4
Right.
PM.
And then just to be, it was advertised as 4:30 because that was what you had put in your request, 4:30 to 9?
Oh, well,
Okay, 4:30 to 9.
that's good.
4:30 to 9 was what was in the posting. Okay, so 4:30 to 9, and then you're adding Sunday and Monday.
No, Sunday's not being added, is it? It's fully
Are you-
6 days a week.
Are you 6 days, is it, what's in the, you're looking at it, Jim.
It says add Mondays and Sundays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think you wanted daily, 4:30 to 9 is the way.
Right, but again, I just,
Okay, so your request, so the application was 7 days a week, 4:30 to 9. That was the application, that was what you'd like, but it sounds like you, if we had concern about it, you were willing to talk about the hours. Is-
correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay, so the request is 4:30 to 9, 7 days a week. And then, so that's, the hours is one part, and then the seats on the patio is the other. Now, I think that because, so how does the seating work? Like, if she's not changing the number of, but she's changing to outside, so it's an alteration of premises? Okay. All right, somebody,
But does it change the occupancy? I mean, if they're adding seats to there, does it mean you can have the occupancy of 37 inside and 20 outside, or is it just for the 37 to
Exactly.
use that?
The occupancy, I'm asking to keep the occupancy the same,
Same.
not to change it. I do have a question about occupancy, but it's a general question about
Okay.
occupancy. Because for the entire time I've owned the building, the occupancy was 44, and that was the documents I had. Recently, it's been changed to 37, and I don't know what constituted that change. I don't know in general if the mandates have changed, or what has changed,
So
what institutes a change.
there's two different numbers, right? There's an occupancy based on your septic load, which is through the Board of Health, and there's an occupancy based on the building code, based on exits, fire exits, and capacity. So there may be two different numbers,
That's what it is. Okay.
possibly. That's what I believe it is.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to look at the other. So, all right, so questions?
I think my only concern sitting here and it being obviously town landing is that there are constant issues with parking down there.
Right, there
As
are.
you know, so that would be my only reservation is if we're adding seating, it obviously needs to remain.
Well, I'm
the
not,
occupancy.
I'm
But
trying
not adding
not to
people.
adding seating or people.
Okay,
The interior seating that I have now is 26.
okay.
With the exterior seating, the maximum would, if I left every seat that was there, it would be 48. But we don't, again, that's not the kind of place that we're open for 3 hours a day, or 4 hours a day when we're open.
But the permit, Jim, you're looking at it, is 37, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I can't speak to what the Board of Health requirements are. I do think that this board, if we chose to, could amend the permit to 7 days, 4:30 to 9, with the outside seating, I think pending approval from whoever else has to approve it. Or we could approve just the hours, or we could not approve it at all. So I think those are our 3 options.
I move we approve pending acceptance by the Board of Health with changes to the permit.
Okay, so you're moving approval of the 2 requests pending the acceptance of the Board of Health for the capacity?
Yes.
Okay,
Madam Chair, this is a public hearing too.
yeah. Do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there a discussion?
My only concern, again, we're back to the parking, but are we going to have a stipulation that it's not expanding the seating capacity?
Well, she's only permitted for 37 people,
Okay.
so,
But
We're basically,
technically, you could have 26 inside and 20 outside, which
she would be in
give
violation of her
26.
permit if she did that.
may I just note that across the street, they're permitted for 75 seats. And there didn't seem to be a problem with that. I'm not asking for half of that.
I wasn't here for the approval of any of those establishments prior to. I just know there's constant concerns with parking.
It is,
at the point.
and believe me, I'm the one that feels the impact of it the most. And that's why I try to keep these hours minimal, because I don't want to compete with the fishing,
That's-
the people that are actually working there and are doing business on the water.
So, we did get a letter, they're here now, so I'm sure they're talking about, but we did get a letter that, from one of the abutters that talked about, that some of the parking down there was supposed to be on against where, some of the parking that was supposed to be attributed to you was not being used that way. But was that, I'm trying to find the letter, hang on.
If they're,
So the parking was that some of your so you have a parking plan, right?
yes,
So have you got signage indicating your parking?
no,
No, all right. And then,
it's pretty obvious.
because it says that according to the zoning board decision, the parking is where the patio and the greenhouse are. So are you using your parking plan that you have in your zoning agreement?
If you're talking about parking where the patio and the greenhouse, that was in 1950.
Okay,
The only parking that has ever been discussed, because the greenhouse predates any parking, all right? That went in 2020. 2000 period, not 2020. So I'm assuming that the parking that that's under discussion is what is my personal landing, which abuts the house. Between myself and Bob Haynes's parking, I have parking.
okay. Other questions?
How many spots are there for that?
I'd say there's 7.
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify, this motion, just to be clear, was not increasing the occupancy.
Correct.
You intend to use your existing occupancy limits, the combination of interior and exterior,
Correct.
but there's no additional.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just that at this time of year, if people walk in there and they look out onto the patio and they see the water and they see the cool air, it's going to be hard to keep them say, oh, no, you can't go out there.
Right.
It's an attractive nuisance, I think is the term.
Well, I raised that, Madam Chair, because the Board of Health cited that as something they want more information on. But if we're not dealing with an occupancy change, then I would support the motion. Otherwise, I would not. So I just wanted to be
Yeah, I
clear on
think,
that.
because I think the primary concern that, I've seen is septic, the load on the septic system down there, right? So if you're adding 20 extra seats and more days of the week, like what impact is that having on the septic? So that's what the Board of Health is
Correct.
trying to assess,
Absolutely.
right?
I get that.
So, so that's why I think, and it was in the
that's why I put
motion,
it-
that we're only allowing whatever the Board of Health, you still have to go, the Board of Health still has to approve
We're
whatever.
tied
they're gonna-
together.
Yeah. But right now, we're saying, the motion was we have right now, we're not changing the occupancy. There's still only 37 people allowed under the permit. So you're increasing the days of the week, and you're adding an hour and a half to your hours, but you're not increasing the number of people that be there at one time.
Correct.
Okay.
And I haven't, no, I guess I don't. I don't know what they base that, how many gallons per seat the state now requires.
They would have to tell you that. I don't think
It
we.
used to be 25. Does anybody know?
I mean, you'd have to work with them.
Either inspectors or Board of Health, health agent, yeah.
Well, it's just that if it was still 25, that would still give me, what, 25, and it goes into 1,000 4
I think you need
times-
to hear from the Board.
Yeah, I mean, that's, the Board of Health will tell you that. We don't know that. The Board of Health will know.
Yep.
So this is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who has anything they want to say?
Hi, I'm Dorothy Paul. I'm not quite an immediate butter, but pretty close at 2048 Main Road. The last hearing for the Pequachuck's license, a lot of people came out and spoke in favor of the need for the community center and place for people to gather, and that all still applies, and none of that has changed. If anything, she's made it into a lovely, welcoming space, and very quiet, very low-key, and I hope that the board will vote in favor of this request to increase the hours a little. In the dead of winter, it's pretty dark down there. There's not a lot of lights. Ever since the town had to cut back on the street lights, I'm about the only one that has light on my section of the road. So it really is nice to have it a little earlier, be opening. The other thing that I did want to ask, just that I know you're dealing with two boards, or usually multiple boards. If your vote is in favor that it doesn't increase the occupancy but increases the hours and the days, that get conveyed over to the Board of Health before they take a vote, because that needs to be clear, because it sounds like it's an issue. So I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so we have,
Brenda, my advice to you is, do not assume that if that you applied for the license, you understand the context of it, that you probably should take the responsibility for notifying the Board of Health of that if and when you have a hearing, or if and when you talk to any staff about it. That's all.
all right, anything else? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to increase the hours and allow seating outside pending a Board of Health determination, but no increase in occupancy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So we have 4, did you vote? Yes, I couldn't. Yes. Okay, so we have 4 in favor and 1 absent. So there you go.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, just a clarification, so if the Board of Health does not approve the additional seating or the seating that's out there, do the hours stay the same? Or can the hours-
I think the hours would stay the same.
Yeah,
hours would
that's our purview.
Yeah. I think the hours would, the new hours,
Separate.
the new hours
Yeah.
but the seating was dependent on the Board of Health.
Okay.
Everybody agree that that was your understanding of the motion? Okay. All right, there you go. Good luck.
Thank you, I'll need it.
We have a number of appointments and resignations. So this 3A, I'm going to read them, and if you have any you want to talk about, put a hold on them and we'll stop. So we have appointment Jesse Dias as a new member for the Cultural Council for 3 years. Joseph Ferreira, Plumbing and Gas Inspector. George Stelgis, Zoning Board of Appeals alternate. Michael Sullivan, Offshore Wind Committee, 3-year. John Bell, Community Preservation Committee. Keith Dias, new member, Economic Development Task Force. Ben Wolbach, Economic Development Task Force. Josh Brum, Municipal Census Supervisor, Assistant Registrar. Josh Brum, Robert Daler, Carrie Cunha, and Renee Kochman, a Cable Advisory Board. Ray White, Sealer of Weights and Measures. Evan Almeida, Infrastructure Oversight Committee. And Tom Aubin, Citizens for Citizens Representative. Do I have a motion?
No holds, I move approval of the nominees, recommendations.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any of those people here want to say anything? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor, 1 absence. We have a request to appoint Select Board representative to the following boards and/or committees. So these are ones where the terms ran out, or we need to appoint someone new, right? So let's just kind of talk about them in general, and then we can have the motion. So Affordable Housing Trust, Craig, did you want to stay on that?
Yes.
Does anybody else want to arm wrestle him for that? All right, so that's Craig. Long-Term Building Committee, Craig, do you still want to be on that one?
Yes.
Okay, everybody okay with that? Anybody else want to be on there? Public Safety Staffing Committee, so Dick, this is you right now. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, but Madam Chair, I've voiced my opinion in the past. We haven't met in several years.
Yeah.
And the reasons for this probably no longer exist, but that's a separate subject, but we ought to consider that, but not before we talk with the other members.
Okay. So we have 3 here that are currently held by Manny, who is not here to advocate for himself. So I guess we'll see if we want to appoint him to continue, or if anybody else wants to take his spot. So we have the Energy Committee. The Infrastructure Oversight Committee. And then,
Sean, I thought there were open seats. I was interested in the infrastructure one, the Economic Development Task Force, but without Manny here, I'm not gonna take the spots,
do you
so.
want to leave those open?
I wouldn't mind if we had a discussion on that.
Okay. And then the Bike Walking Path, this would be replacing Steve, who's left. Anybody interested in that one? So I'll take that one. All right, so so let's do the motion. We'll not talk about the infrastructure oversight and economic development. So we have Craig for Affordable Housing Trust, Craig for Long-Term Building Committee, Dick for the Public Safety Staffing Committee, Manny for the Energy Committee, and Shauna for the Bike Walking Path Committee. Anyone want to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 yes and 1 absent. And then we'll talk about those other 2 at the next meeting. Are there still more coming, Paula?
They're trickling down.
Yeah.
This should be it for select board.
Okay. We have a request from Police Chief Christopher Dunn to reappoint the following officers. Are you here for that? No? Oh, Christopher Dunn is here. Chief, welcome. Did you want to read these names? Do you want me to read the names?
You can read the names.
Okay. So this is a reappointment of the following officers. Reserve officers, Francois Naper, Thomas Plord. If you have a hold on any of these, hold. Okay. Thomas Plord, Samantha McGuire, Christian Theodore, Javier Rosa, Antonio Sestodio, David Leite, Johnny Kudo, Clinton Silverio, David Simcoe, John Bell, Michael Sylvia, Paul Reese. And then community service officers, Stephen Kovar, Michael Kelly, Amy Lynn Smitty, Maggie Noversa, Michael Russell, David Aruda, Brian Souza, Michael Borden, Richard Rodrigues, Eric Vaness, and Valerie Belleville. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor, 1 absent. Were you here for something else, Chief?
Yes,
Which one?
the National Police Night Out and the end of year transfer.
Oh, the year transfers, okay. I'm not gonna skip. I was gonna skip to you, but I'm gonna wait.
That's fine.
We have a request from Keith Novo, the IT director, to appoint Paul Sullivan as the part-time IT specialist. Jim, you wanna tell us about that?
As you remember, at the last meeting, we made an appointment to this position, but the applicant took another job elsewhere. We had also interviewed Paul Sullivan, who seemed to be very qualified, and Keith Novo was recommending that we hire him for the part-time IT position.
Okay, so this is instead of the person that we did
Yes.
last time.
Yep.
All right. Is there any questions?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the appointment of Paul Sullivan as the part-time IT specialist.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absence. We have a request to accept the resignation of Gabriel Almeida, Shared Health Specialist for the South Coast Public Health Collaborative. You want to tell us about this one?
Yeah, so this was a grant-funded position through the Board of Health grant. She accepted another job in another community, so she's put in a resignation.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the resignation?
Motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor, 1 absent. We have a request to accept the resignation of Gary Tripp, the Deputy Harbor Master. That's effective July 3rd. So that will be our new harbor master starting out without a deputy harbor master. So we have a motion to accept the resignation for Gary Tripp.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor, 1 absent. So we have a item in a minute to post that job. We have a request from Bill Chase, our incoming Director of Marine Services, to appoint Andrew Manchester and Kevin Carter as Assistant Harbor Masters and Shellfish Wardens. Did you want to say anything about them, or you just,
Well, I kind of do.
all right, can you come to a mic?
So you want me to speak to the two of them at the same time?
Okay,
Okay, so one of my first tasks was to try to find the best talent to add to the Marine Services Department. Let me speak to Kevin first. Kevin brings a dynamic to this Harbor Masters Department. I think any Harbor Masters Department that will be a credit, and that is that he's got the local knowledge that's basically a prerequisite. I understand he's one hell of a recreational fisherman, which does bring something to the department. And on a professional level, he works with engineers that I think will help us to automate some of the systems in the department that we need to do. So he's not just a great marine talent, he's also a guy who knows his way around the engineering world. So I asked that you would appoint, oh, by the way, on top of that, he coaches baseball at a fairly high level. We share that passion together. And we've spoken down on his boat, and we've had a pretty fair exchange of ideas. And I think we will mesh quite well together.
great, okay.
So I asked for his approval as a member of the team as an assistant harbor master.
Okay, and you're appointing them both to both, right?
Yes, yes. So this is assistant harbor master / shellfish warden.
Okay.
That's the title. And Andrew, you know his last name. The Manchesters have been in Westport as long as there's been Westport. Andrew, at his young age, has already worked on the deck of fishing trawlers on George's Bank. And now he works for his Uncle Wayne building docks around town. Both of those jobs require a man with a work ethic, and we need that as well. And Andrew is just that young ball of energy, I think, that would be the future of this department. And so I asked for his approval as well.
All right. Jim, are these funded positions?
Yes.
Yeah.
These are the
And-
part-time positions.
Yes,
And do you
he's-
have a recommendation?
Recommend approval.
Right. Anybody have any questions for me?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
No, Chair, I've had a few people reach out to me, both for Andrew and for Kevin, fully supportive of them, so appreciate them taking on the responsibility, and they have the ability to hopefully, with Bill, help out on the river.
All right.
We've already met, by the way, in anticipation of a positive vote. We met last Thursday down at the Harbor Master Shack, and we've kind of shared my vision of where to take the department. And I think between the five of us, which would be Rick Smith, myself, Jim Perry, Kevin, and Andrew, I think we'll make a pretty formidable team.
Great. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absence. I'm going to bump up the other item on the agenda, 4E, because you're standing right there. So 4E is a request to post for the deputy harbor master position. So Gary Tripp resigned, we just accepted his resignation. So now we need to post, and we had a job description in the materials, right? That was a previous job description, right? That was from like 2016 or something, right? Okay. Have you, are you asking us to post for that position?
I am.
Okay. And the job description, did you have a chance to look at the job description?
I have not, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, so what do you need from us?
Just recommend approval to post the position.
Okay.
My only question on that is if there are changes to it, that after Bill looks at it, can we make changes?
Yeah, because the way it would work is that we would post for the position, and then we can interview, and then before you hire them, you have an employment contract, so we could change the job description between the time you hire them and the time of the employment contract. I don't think we would change it substantially, but yeah, you could make changes. All right.
Can I get with Jim
Yeah.
on that before you post it?
On the posting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to review it in case there's
Sure.
something that.
Yep, it's not a problem.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the posting for the deputy harbor master. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's, passes 4 yes and 1 absence. Was that all your items on the?
Sean, I don't.
Oh,
no,
we
made
didn't?
it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there we go, 4 and.
Thank you. Can I just ask one question? When do you think this position would be filled?
So
Because
do we normally post for 10 days or something, or?
There's no specific requirement. This isn't a union position, so we can post it for a week, we can post it for 2 weeks, 10 days.
So how long will it take you to get the posting up? A couple days?
We should get it up by Wednesday.
Okay, so sometime this week, the posting will be up. It depends on how many applicants you have.
so could I assume that this would be filled by the 7th, July 7th?
I would not assume that, no.
Well, I'm just wondering, do we go into 4th of July with or without
Without,
a deputy?
You're going to 4th of July without, yeah.
That's right. I've got 4 guys that can handle it. So.
Kevin, you
It'll
working
be
the
your
4th of
first
July?
challenge. You're going to hope for not great weather on the 4th of July weekend is what you're hoping for.
Bring it, bring it. Thank you all very much.
All right. Okay. We're good with that. All right, 4A, we have a request from Beverly Bish, Council on Aging Director, to approve the Communication and Community Relations Coordinator. Beverly, you want to tell us about this?
I think everybody had received a copy of it. I met with the Personnel Board a couple of weeks ago. It reviewed the job description. This job description is more in line with our strategic plan that we worked a couple of years with the board on. It's more about having the senior center as the center of the hub of what we want to do with seniors, and about getting out there. It's taken this position, the assistant to the director of services, that position, we're no longer going to fill that. I have somebody that's been out for a significant amount of time, and it's been vacant. And we looked at that position, and there were a lot of things in that position that weren't really being attended to. But the volunteer part of it was, so we've sort of rolled it over into the Communications and Community Relations Coordinator position, and that person's going to work with recruiting, volunteering, marketing, getting out in the community, our social media, all of those kinds of things. That's what we're looking for, somebody with a little bit of expertise in that area to really bump us up from where we are.
And it's a funded position?
Grant funded.
Grant funded. Do you have a recommendation?
I'd recommend approval. We did talk about the assistant. I think that's still up in the air at this point.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I'd recommend that this is a grant-funded position. I'd recommend
So what are we approving, the posting or just the job description?
approving the job
The
description.
job description.
Yes.
And post, I guess.
We didn't
Well,
put post, we
Oh,
didn't,
okay.
post isn't in the agenda, so I'm
I-
just wondering.
okay.
I'm wondering what the request is.
Right now, it's just for the job description, to approve the position and the job description.
Okay, so,
Chair, just a quick question on that. If it's grant-funded, Beverly, is that an annual basis? Is this person would come on for one time, an annual basis and then have to get the grant again, or how does that work?
I'm kind of the grant queen, so.
You'll find the money?
I'll find a way, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's very few positions that we've had. I mean, I've just finished, I'm getting into my 11th year already, and we still have, 20, 22 staff, and I haven't lost any of it, so it's just, a formula grant we get every year, and we're getting a little bit more. This year, we go into, I think, $16 a senior, an elder, for the town. At one point, I did ask for AREW, which is the Association for the Relief of Aged Women, and we had other money from them to pay for positions. They've paid for mostly my outreach, so, but I have that, and other grants, MCOA usually gives me some money too, so there's a lot of senior money out there that I tap into a little bit here and there.
so it's not like pretty low risk of not getting it approved, but the answer would be if it's, don't have a grant, then.
It's not there.
I mean, it would have to be catastrophic that we would lose all of our
The Association
grants.
for Aged Women is an endowed organization,
Yeah, so.
It's a what?
an endowed.
Endowed, so
Yes,
it's not
yes.
subject to so much political
Yes.
upheaval. Right. So we had a motion that time.
Motion?
Did we? So we had a motion to accept, to create the position and accept the job description. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent.
Shauna, nobody seconded that. I made the motion, no one
Did
seconded.
someone
I
second?
will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm not on my game today. I can't hear
And
very well
Can
today.
I just mention one thing on the
Yeah.
very last page? It does talk about the ad. It talks about what we would put in for the ad, but I didn't know if I included that in there, if that was part of
Yeah, we
the
just missed it
request,
on
but
the,
it's on the last page.
I think we just missed it on the wording on the, because it says, because the agenda said aging director
Yes.
to approve the coordinator. It didn't say to approve the posting.
Yeah, because
so
the
we just
personnel
missed
board
it.
already approved it. You guys have to approve it. So I have to send another request in to post?
Yeah,
And that'll be July 7th?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, I will do so.
Okay, anything else? Do you want to, did you have any other topics in there?
Yes.
All right, let's get the police,
No,
let's,
we have-
let's do the police item and then we'll do the auditor. Is that okay? Is anybody else waiting for stuff? You're waiting for the police stuff. You guys were already appointed. Okay, all right, so Chief, we're gonna bump up, well, actually, it's 4B. We have a request from Police Chief Dunn to host the 2025 National Night Out at the Old High School and hang the banner.
Evening?
Evening,
Glad to see
Chief.
the windows are open.
Yeah.
It's okay with the board. I invited Sergeant Fernando Gonzalez here this evening. He's spearheads, him and Michelle Donovan and a few other officers spearhead our community outreach unit. And he would like to speak about National Night Out, and I will probably add a few things.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. So on behalf of the community outreach unit, so this year we are planning on, it's gonna be our first time that we're gonna be hosting a National Night Out. It's a nationwide event. It's usually on the first week of August. This year it's gonna be August 5th. It's gonna be from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. National Night Out is a building campaign that promotes police-community partnership. It's a platform for us to connect with the community. And this year, in Massachusetts, there's going to be 47 town and cities who's going to participate. We're going to be one of them. We also have partners in town, the fire department, the explorers. We're going to have a canine demonstration, stroke buddies, all the events that we usually host. We're going to bring them all in one place. It's kind of almost like a big safety day to show what we do. We're going to have a table set up. They're going to present what they do for the community. And the reason why I'm here is to seek permission to use behind the old high school. It's going to be from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. on August 5th.
All right, anybody have any questions about that?
We've already received permission from the high school themselves to use it, and We've also have a backup where if it rains, we're trying to make it too big so we can use the gymnasium if needed at the old high school.
All right, great. All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
That time I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor, 1 absence. Stay there. So we want to talk about your, so I'm skipping to 4F, the year-end transfers.
Can I just ask one question, Madam
Yep.
Chair? The approval for the sign is in that document. Does that also need to be approved? to
Yeah, I
the
just
board?
coordinate with
Okay.
Paula.
Just so you know, the sign was actually donated by the Westport Federal Credit Union,
Oh, great.
so,
Yeah, we have a lot of signs going up in the summer, so
Sure.
just Paula's the coordinator.
So
All
that's-
right, so the year-end transfers?
yes.
So we have Police Department, 15,955 from salaries to expenses?
Yes, so first off, I'd just like to thank the board for for the board and also the FinCom for last year, with the approval for last year with our technology and our upgrades. Just in the past 2 weeks, we've been a part of 2 significant narcotic seizures where we wouldn't be eligible to do that or participate with what you were able to provide for our department. So I just want to say thank you for that. I just want to kind of go with why we're here. First off, we have surplus in expenses. That's due to, we had 6 open vacancies at the start of FY25. We were able to fill 5 of those 6, and it's our goal to fill the last one by March of FY26. So we continue to bring our department up with technology. You know, this first one is through mobile computers, mobile data terminals or computers. We outfitted our patrol force last year. This is the last leg of our upgrade. This is for the detective. This is for the detective unit.
He's motioning to the next presenter.
Yeah, we have a,
Oh, okay. I don't feel like, stop.
You got it.
Don't do that.
You've talked too much. Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah, they got him the hook.
We're multitasking here.
Exit stage right. So we had an incident earlier this year where the regional SWAT team was called out to a residence in our town, where we had an on-call detective. And that on-call detective had to stay at the police department to write and print out court paperwork. By having this sort of mobile data terminal, first off, it's an upgrade than what we currently have. We have an older computers that they use, as well as the air cards, which kind of get damaged. But this would allow the detector, our detectives, to sit at these scenes and gather real-time intelligence to write their reports. So this is the main reason why we're asking it. And again, this is like the last leg of our mobile computer upgrade.
I forgot to introduce the year-end transfer, because I know you're new. You probably know this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because you're new. So, town meeting appropriates the budgets. We can't move money between expense or salary or between departments outside of town meeting, except for like this late period in June, where these are transfers. In this case that we're talking to the chief about, it's from police salary to police expenses, but there's some other ones here that are just, it's moving the money around from different spots.
Correct. We're not asking for any more money.
It's not new money, but,
Correct.
but if we didn't approve this transfer, then it would go into, it would get swept into free cash. Okay, so you had the first line items for the laptop for the detectives.
Correct, yes.
Unit, yep, okay. And then you had 56,107 from salaries to expenses.
Madam Board, if I can just invite Deputy Chief Rebello up for this one. There might be a question somebody from the board might ask that I might not have specific knowledge of. This isn't a great topic to talk about, but unfortunately we have to. This is an upgrade to our handguns that we currently have. We want to move forward to the industry standard that's currently with the handgun and the optic that goes with it. The Massachusetts State Police currently transitioned, as well as several other local agencies. Like I said, we feel as though this is going to be the industry standard because of the larger departments transitioning, as well as our police training council is now incorporating this into their recruit curriculum. And we have 2 recruits going to the academy starting in August. We had several officers go up to New Hampshire to an academy up there to testify on multiple ranges of weapons. They felt as though this was the best one for the price that we could get. You know, the other thing we talked about, the money aspect of it, we are actually defray the cost of the quotes because we are turning in our current weapons as well as the ammo. So there is an exchange where it's not going to be as expensive as what it could be. So that's for the firearms as well as the ammunition is I believe 58,000 is.
56,107.
56,
And
yes.
then there's another one for 13,283.
Yes, so with guns, you need holsters. So these are for holsters. Again, the officers went up there, they felt as though the kind that the manufacturer wanted us to get. They felt it wasn't durable, they felt it was flimsy, they were able to manipulate some things fairly easily where it was broken. So they went and gathered other industry holsters, and they felt as though this was the best one that we could get for the price.
So I had a question. When was the last time we replaced our firearms in the police department? Do you know? They're old, aren't they?
They're older, they're not oldest, but they're older, yes.
Seems to be at least 6, 8 years.
At least 6 to 8. But again, this is, what we're seeing is this trend. Again, we call it industry standard. Eventually, it's going to become the norm. And that's what we're trying to get ahead of.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Finally, something in my
Look
wheelhouse.
at you.
We can speak
Your
for
area of
hours on this.
expertise.
I got
You're the
all
deputy,
kinds of
I'm not the
questions.
firearms
I got
guy.
all kinds of questions.
Sure.
Actually, no, you guys are going from the 320, correct? To, you have SIG 320s right now, and you're going to
Correct.
the 17?
Going to the M17.
And,
I'm sorry, the M18 with an M17 optic.
yeah, just in full disclosure, with my background, have been some issues with 320, which nationwide, so this is a good move by the police department to be going to the newer firearm. There have been some liability issues, some discharges from the old 320, so this is a smart move on behalf of the police department. And as they pointed out, the optics that they will be using on this is basically what everyone's going to with respect to that. So that's why the extra expense for the accessories. But this is actually probably a very good positive for the town moving to a different firearm.
Anybody else have questions or anything on the police, the 3 police items?
Madam Chair, we're just going to vote on these 3 for now and then do the other 2.
Yeah, I was thinking we would just talk about these 3 and then move to
Okay.
Roselli, if that's okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the 3 line items for the police department, from salaries to expenses. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's 4 in favor and 1 absence. Anything else while you're here, chief?
Yes, a few things, thank you. Our school resource officers have been busy. We had a mock crash a few weeks ago that they were a part of. They've had the prom, they've had graduation, I believe. They had another safety event. We had the 3rd graders in our police station today. We coordinated and had the 2-day boater safety course. We're working with the harbor master. We have a meeting with him on the 23rd with the fire chief, and I believe representatives from DCR. The other thing we're doing as well is we submitted for 2 grants. One is a traffic safety grant that we hopefully get for the 4th of July and Labor Day. The other is we've been working in conjunction with Keith Novo. We've noticed that our internal computers, the computers in the department, are starting to become old and outdated. We've had a couple that actually crashed where no data recovery was able to happen. So we were able to find a grant for a technology upgrade. So we applied for a grant up to $40,000 for, computer infrastructure upgrade. And I think we were just coordinating with the harbor master regarding what we want to do on the water with them and the fire department.
Right. All right, thank you. Anything further, chief? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a nice night. Appreciate it.
Be well.
Okay, we are now pausing our agenda to skip down to discussion 5A. We have the FY 2024 financial audit with Roselli and Clark. We have him, is he on? Our technology is a little challenging today. Is Tony there?
Roselli, can you hear me?
Jim's laptop.
He's on Jim's laptop. We can't see him here. We just have to imagine you, Tony.
Do we have his audio?
Tony, I can hear you, I can't hear you.
You may not hear us either, because you're...
You can hear me, right?
One moment.
Presentation? I mean, the Google button?
I did.
You're in the, is on the meeting?
Is there a presentation involved? You could always have them call somebody, a
Yeah.
speaker.
Yeah, you can call us.
You can call in and do a speakerphone, unless there's a presentation, I don't know.
Well, you're
There's no
not,
presentation.
is the meeting, are you dialed into the meeting?
I am on the right one, unless there's...
Well, So can you just, you can project that so we could see him, but we still can't hear him. So you can, how about your laptop speaker?
I can't hear him on my laptop speaker either, which is odd.
Oh, he's not, you're not,
Oh, I can speak.
there you go.
All right.
Tony,
You should-
say something. No. We were testing this before the meeting, too.
So if you can go to the other one, Valerie, at least we can get the picture up.
This phone works really good. You want to
we use it
call
often.
in?
Yeah. With the- Tony, we're going to have you call into the phone.
No, it would,
Okay.
the phone should be able to call into the
Oh,
meeting.
here he is.
Oh.
Oh, wait.
He's just popped in.
Did you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
you can-
You just shut it off?
Okay.
It's back
I can hear you.
Yep, you can hear us as well?
Yep.
Okay, welcome, Tony
We
Rizzo.
good?
Sorry for the delay. We're still, you can't screen share the,
I think I can.
so, Dick, you want to just introduce
Yeah.
us here?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We welcome Tony Roselli, who is our town auditor. Tony has
Oh, there we go.
Great. Has been doing our audit for a number of years, and every year, although we have the presentation and the acceptance of the audit at the audit committee, it is our procedure to have Tony appear with us, either remotely or by video. And I think, Tony, you were here last year, if I recall, in person. We already, as the audit committee, reviewed the material, but we'd like to, Tony, just to make a few remarks and answer any questions from the select board this evening. Tony Roselli.
Tony, if you just want to give us an update on what you found?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Little echo.
Okay, I can't see you, which is not a problem. Hopefully, you guys can hear me,
We can.
and we can go through the presentation. So, yeah, so this was, pretty uneventful audit. There was really, I like those. I like uneventful audits where we don't have a lot of problems or findings. The audit was issued on February 4th, which is very early for Westport. And that in of itself is indicative of things are getting better. Processes are getting done more quicker, and things are being quicker, which lets us do our audit faster. It's all a domino effect. You miss an OPEB report, and then you're not doing the audit till like May or June. But it seems like this year everything lined up, and we got everything we needed. There were no gap departures. There were no material weaknesses. There were no scope limitations, no disagreements with management. So all that stuff was pretty good. I'm going to highlight some observations, which we always do. Some are some repeats from the prior year. And feel free to jump in if you have any questions or concerns. So the report I'm looking at is what's called the governance report. It's addressed to the Board of Selectmen. It's about a 3 or 4 page report. And I'm on page 3, if you want to follow along.
This in the packet.
No, we don't.
So basically, a quick overview of long-term obligations. We kind of go through this every year with the town. And the pension liability increased a little bit. It's $35.2 million from the prior year. And this was mostly a function of the town's covered payroll increasing. So even though the pension had a good year in the financial marketplace, the liability still went up because the town's covered payroll went up a little bit. So I think that's all scheduled to be fully funded sometime around 2033, 34. So in the next 10 years or so, that should be fully funded. But $35.2 million is the pension liability. The OPEB liability is in really good shape when we compare it to other towns.
The state does not require you to fund OPEB, but Westport has chosen to put money in an OPEB trust. You've accumulated $4.1 million, so that's increasing. And it's about 20% of the gross liability. So the gross liability is 21 million, the net liability is 17 million. So it's significantly less than the pension obligation. So from that perspective, the town's doing a really nice job of managing that liability. The goal, I believe, which we talked about at the audit committee meeting, was that once Bristol County has been fully funded, kind of go back and see where your OPEB is at this time, 10 years from now, and become a little more aggressive, because the pension assessment is built into your budget. And when it's fully funded, that's going to go down significantly. So you'll have money available that you'll be able to put towards OPEB. My gut instinct tells me by then the state may probably have some mandates to force you to fund OPEB. I think they're waiting to get all the pension liabilities out of the way. So that's my quick spiel on the OPEB and pension. Any questions on that from you folks?
When are you projecting that with the Bristol County, the pension will be paid?
No? Okay. Hope you can hear me. My microphone is showing a negative. Next item is the network security. So again, we're just a reminder to continue
Wait, Tony,
to.
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me?
We could hear you just fine, but you couldn't hear us. So I had a
I
question.
couldn't hear you. Yeah, now I can. So it's kind of like going in and out.
Well, yeah, we know that one. That one's user error.
Were there any questions?
Yes. So when are you projecting that pension the pension part will be paid off? When are we projecting that?
I think it's 2033 or 4 is when they are scheduled to be fully funded. So less than 10 years from now, that will be fully funded, and then you're going to switch. At that time, I would imagine, and we talked about this a little bit in the audit committee meeting, that you'd go to a more aggressive approach on the OPEB funding, because that pension funding is hard-coded into your budget right now. And that'll be a big windfall come 2033, 34. So hopefully a portion of that will be diverted towards OPEB. There are some communities that are 100% funded now in their pension that are starting to do exactly that, moving some monies into OPEB a little quicker. But you're in pretty good. You've got a really good start on OPEB. And the key here is there's something called compounding. So if you're doing well at the beginning, it's going to compound much quicker than towns that are not doing anything now. So compounding is a very powerful tool that you have on your side, because you've started to do things, and that number should start to really move quickly as the financial markets earn interest on it. Whereas if you've got 0, you're not earning anything, which some towns don't have any money in their OPEB. So you guys have a really good start. 20% is very high compared to most other communities that we do audit. I have very little that are over 10%, and most are right around 2 to 5%.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that? No?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The next item I talked about, which is just a basically annual reminder, just stay on top of your network security. There's, all kinds of, I can see you guys now. Great. The hackers are still out there in force. They're preying on the vulnerable people that are clicking on emails that they shouldn't be clicking on. The emails are becoming very sophisticated. Hopefully you have a good training program in place, which I believe you do. We talked about this also a little bit at the audit committee meeting, where you're actually, tracking people, where some people are more vulnerable. Some people like to click on emails. Some people are great about it. So kind of, track that stuff. So this is just a reminder to stay on top of that. I don't think you've had a major breach yet. You've been fortunate. A lot of towns have gotten tied up for a couple of days just because they've gotten nailed. So, or lost money. The hackers have come in and actually diverted funds to foreign accounts. Secondly, fraud risk, just a reminder to continue to look at your departments, look at your revenues. How do they compare to the prior year? Does it look like there's any issues? How's your cash handling? Those are things we don't do a drill down to every department. We're only looking at the bigger ones. So that's something the town should be doing periodically, looking at the town clerk's office, council on aging, some of the different school revolving funds. So those are some of the things that should be done on a revolving basis. Just again, it's just a reminder, just to preventative things against fraud. Any questions yet? So, okay. Come to the first real sort of finding. The closing process is still a little bit clunky. We've talked to Nicole about the areas where we seem to be having some trouble with is making sure all the transfers are in the right places. So when we come in to do the audit, we kind of go through every single transfer, compare it to the town meeting, and we've kind of gone through a checklist with her on how to do that. Was it fatal? Absolutely not. We still got your audit done. We still got, everything done. But in the future, I'd like to see that process a little better streamlined, and we are working with her every year on that. So hopefully it does get better and better. Next area.
I have a question on that. Are you talking
Excuse
about,
me?
is that like month end and quarterly closing that you're talking about, or year end? Like which?
I'm talking about the closing that goes to the Department of Revenue. So what will happen is there might be like a stabilization fund transfer that might get overlooked, where you've got to take it out of the general fund, put it in the stabilization fund, or something from a special revenue fund that's got to go to a general fund. That's the area that we're working on, Nicole, with to really hammer home. We spent a lot of time with her on that in the last audit. It's gotten better each year. The other items, just the regular activity, that's being done very well. And like I said, it's not fatal. We did get the audits done on time and everything got done. Your free cash got certified. But if we could streamline that a little bit, just from
So you're talking, is that a year end closing you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
year-end closing.
All right, so
Yep.
that's a year-end close. And then they haven't instituted a Zobrio yet, right? Will Zobrio help with that?
Not really, because this is Zobrio's cash book. This is general ledger.
Okay.
So, so that won't help with that. It's more before you press those buttons to the state, step back, put all your town meeting transfers on a spreadsheet and make sure they've been made in the GL. It's just it's a cross and check. It's a very easy fix if you're doing it. And, so hopefully this year we'll, have it'll be more streamlined.
Thank you.
The next item is with the treasurer collector to review, the tax lien process. The tax liens went up again, so she's doing her liens, but the foreclosure balances have stayed the same. So we're not going to that next step. We're putting delinquents into tax lien, but we're not doing the auction side and not doing the possession side. So that's an area that the town maybe should take a look at, because that tax lien balance is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It went up about, I think it went up about $90,000 between 23 and 24. All right. The next item is your abatement, allowance for abatements, up to $1.2 million. And it's very high. I think there's only about $25,000 in live cases where you're at risk for, yet you've got $1.2 million in the liability. So that's something you need to talk to the assessors about a little bit. There is some money available there if you want to put extra money into OPEB, or if you want to move money into stabilization, or if you want to do some capital projects. Not sure if they released any for this last budget cycle.
So they did, town meeting just approved 450,000 to go, for the purchase of a fire engine here in town.
That's great to hear. So this was a really, so they had almost had like a sinking fund for that, and it hasn't really cost the town anything because that money was in a reserve that you were able to pull out. So that's good news, Jim.
The abatements were a little higher than 25, right? We usually do about $200,000, $300,000 and, oh geez. What's the terminology? Not tax incentives, but tax rebates.
Right, we're talking about the actual cases. So,
The abatement.
so some of them are written off, then there's a group that the assessor disagrees with, and they have to take it to the next step, which is your ATB. And those are the amounts that go against this, this liability. So your initial abatements are done as soon as your tax bill goes out. You have to get those done within 60 days, and those get done right away. This is what's left over after those are done, and then you've got your 25,000. There's a few special revenue accounts that have balances in them. So we've told Nicole, take a look at those, work with your department heads, and see if those are available to be spent. Or see if they're coding errors, they're available to be spent, or if they, maybe you didn't spend a grant down, so you might have to send money back to the state. But for the most part, usually you find that those are just coding errors that have accumulated from years. And there's not a lot there, maybe $50,000 or $60,000. It's not a lot of money, but it's something to definitely take a peek at. And we call those stagnant balances. So you get money, say from the state, 50,000, you spend 48, you got 2 left. That 2,000 stays there for the next 100 years. What I'm suggesting is, and the state's you've already closed out the grant with the state, they're satisfied, but that 2,000 sits there. What I'm saying is go look at all those 2,000s and see if you can kick some money loose for the department heads to spend. There's some gifts, revolving accounts, grants, some of it maybe just simple errors where it goes back to the general fund. So I pointed that out to Nicole, so hopefully she's taking a look at that. And then, same thing with the agency balances. There's $150,000 in the retirement account, and that's way too big. So that's, so when I say agency balances, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, that's when you take money out of somebody's pay. So when you're working, you have compensation, and a portion of it comes out of your pay. That's your portion of what you're paying your pension to. The town matches that, and then the whole thing goes over to Bristol County. What this is saying is that there's $150,000 in employees' money that's still sitting in this liability, and that's impossible. That should have been paid over. So in my opinion, there's some sort of coding error there, and that amount should be probably no more than $20,000 or $30,000, and it's a very large sum that I'd like her to take a look at to see what happened there. Either the town paid too much and left the employees' piece intact, so more it got charged to the town side, or some payment didn't get made, which I find hard to believe because Bristol County would have been screaming. So something happened there that needs to be researched. There's a miscellaneous agency account, which we have no idea what that is. That's got $50,000 in. And all this is income, by the way. If you find out what it is, not a write-off for the town, this would be income when you eventually find what it is. And then there's a fire detail account that has over $40,000 in, which is historically, that's way too high. So there's 3 accounts there that total $240,000 that when we come in to do this year's audit, I'd love to see some answers for that, because to me, I believe there's some coding that may have accumulated over the years there. So this would be money that would belong to the general fund, is normally what happens there. So Other than that, I think that's what I have, unless you have other questions for me.
Madam Chair, I just wish to point out that the items that Mr. Roselli is talking about, the audit committee will deal with those in due course and start working on that at our next meeting. And those are correctable problems, and nice problems to have because there's money there that could be released. So we will be focusing on that.
Yeah, I can add, the audit committee has been very responsive, very responsible. We've been having our meetings. We've been discussing the findings. There's accountability. Unlike how it was years ago, this is really a nice situation to have. And that's something you should keep up. So I'm fairly confident that the town, through its audit committee, will resolve these items and continue to, show improvement so that when we come in for the next audit, we should see those items resolved.
Great. Anybody else have questions? Anything he missed, Dick?
No, very thorough. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate it.
Tony, we want more uneventful audits.
Remember when I used to just put a cardboard
You did.
Yeah.
figure of myself?
It was like beating your head against a brick wall.
Yeah, and just play the tape recorder from the year before. Remember we used to do that to avoid the trip. So no, I like these uneventful audits. They're very good. So let's keep it up, guys. All right, well, I'll be off. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you soon enough. Okay?
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything on that before we move on? All right, so I think we're back to 4C.
Yep.
Banner request from the Westport River Watershed promoting their summer concert on July 12th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absence. Follows their normal summer juggling of banners. 4D, we have a request to approve non-union personnel 3% raises effective July 1. So we typically give the non-union members raises in line with the unions that they're working with. So this is that's just what this is, right?
Consistent with the bargaining with the other units, I move approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absence. All right, back to year-end transfers. We have 23,000 from library salaries to expenses, and then for the beach enterprise, 13,000 from health insurance to beach enterprise personnel. So this is, what is this? Beach enterprise, 13,000 from health insurance to beach enterprise personnel. Oh, so they have their own health insurance line item?
They don't, that's actually a general fund line.
Okay, it's the general fund health insurance line item to personnel. All right, do you want to, do you have any information on these two?
Yeah, I don't have a lot on the library. I do know that they had some positions that were unfilled throughout the year, so they had additional money. I know just in general discussions with them with the expense accounts over the year, they've had a number of needs that have not been filled. I do not have the detail on this 23,000 as to what it's going to be expensed on, but I do know that they've had a number of expenses that they've been looking to get complete throughout the year that have been put on hold.
This is, oh yeah, so it says building repair and maintenance. So we don't know exactly what, but it just says building repair and maintenance, okay. And then the beach, the personnel service for the beach.
Yeah, so a couple of things happened, I think, with the beach. Last year, normally lifeguards, when you get towards the middle of August, towards the end of August, the kids go back to school, and the number of hours or number of shifts that are filled gets reduced. It happened a little bit this past year, but not as much as normal, so they actually expended more money than they normally are anticipated expending because most of the guys didn't go back. They've also hired the head guard who's been doing more detailed work. He's scheduled training for the lifeguards. He's come in the last couple of months to make sure that the equipment is updated, so he's put in some additional hours that were not included in the original budget from last year. They are included in this upcoming budget, but this gets us through the end of June. Without this transfer, there will be no lifeguards as of tomorrow, till the end of June.
Okay.
It should be a one-time thing going forward.
It's in the budget going
It
forward.
is in the budget going forward.
Okay. All right, any questions about either one of those?
My only question is on the beach enterprise, or basically salaries there was an article on the Shorelines, I think last week, concerning this, that it was, there was some overtime, like you stated, from last year, but my only concern is that this is, while it is a variable cost, in my opinion, it's a fixed cost. You know how many lifeguards you're gonna have, you know the hours. There's discussion about how they're gonna cut the hours for the end of June until July 1, so I think my concern is that this probably should have been brought up at town meeting to get, take it from the enterprise fund to have this. So I would hope in the future that they would look a little bit back a little bit further, or look further when you're in February or March as to what those expenses are gonna be. These are kind of college kids that probably are pretty dependent on the income. I'm pretty familiar with lifeguards and staffing and kind of how it works. So especially like this week, right? I mean, you have a holiday on Thursday, could be very hot. There could be people down there very early, and we just don't know what type of ocean you're gonna have that day. So I think the town should be a little bit concerned with the liability or the precedent, not having lifeguards during, obviously, during the weekdays, especially when the kids are out of school on Fridays. So that's my only concern. I mean, it's something that happened, but I think it needs to be managed a little bit better. I mean, we're only dealing with, let's say you get 20 days at $300, it's $6,000 that, probably could be coming from somewhere else to avoid the liability that the town would have if someone drowned down there at 10 a.m. with no lifeguards.
Is this 13,000 covering that, or did they actually need more?
They need more, I believe.
My calculation, they can cover it. They may only have 4 a shift during the week and 6 on the weekends, which is what they used to have. They prefer to have 6.
Okay, all right, but,
Yeah, because the article was only saying they were going to possibly reduce the hours from 11 to 5. So if it just changes staffing, then, but you have still full coverage, that's probably good as well.
And then just what's happened this past year as well is the Select Board and Town Meeting approved additional money to be transferred to the Recreation Department. So Dana Stewart, the Recreation Director, just got involved this past year, and that's going to handle a lot of the day-to-day stuff as well, so.
So with the amount of beach permits you have outstanding, does that goes to the general fund and then has to be transferred? It doesn't go directly to the management of Cherry and Webb then?
It goes directly to the enterprise fund, so that's a separate account
Okay.
altogether. The beach passes go right into there.
Okay, and then obviously other entities can pull from that enterprise fund?
Only what's appropriated at town meeting, and it's supposed
Okay.
to be just for the beach.
Okay.
But they have Cherry and Webb, they have East Beach,
Mhm.
they have Beach Avenue, a small.
all right, so do we have a motion to approve those 2 transfers?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so that's 4 in favor, 1 absent. We have a request from Matt Armendo, Director of Public Health, to post the Shared Services Health Specialist position. So we accepted the resignation earlier. So this is funded by it's a grant-funded position that's community share, right? Okay.
Move adoption of his recommendation.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the posting. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. We have a request to approve change order number 2 for Diggit LLC for $301,054.09. Jim, do you want to tell us about
So
this?
this is the Waterline project that we received the $4 million grant for, and that we had some ARPA funds as well that went into this. This change order was expected or anticipated. Change orders always come in a little bit higher than you anticipate, and this one did as well. But this one was, we have Bread and Cheese Brook with 2 culverts in Route 6. Originally, it was designed that we would, the contractor would essentially dig under the 2 culverts and install the water pipe. Mass DOT was concerned about the structural integrity of the 2 culverts, so we had to come up with an alternative. We looked at different options. We looked at jacking, which I don't quite understand, but Mr. Soers was asking about that, so we did investigate that. We looked at directional drilling, which would go under the pipes, but the material wasn't good, so the engineer said that we would have to go through the bedrock, which would have brought it significantly deeper and cost more than they're proposing. So we were fortunate enough, there's an old aqueduct in the Route 6 that used to bring water when needed from Lake Nokichoke down to the South Watuppa. Fall River Water Department did give us approval to use that. So we're actually going to slip line, we're going to snake the water line through this old aqueduct and go under the two culverts, which is an expense, and that's included in this change order. But it is still less expensive than what was going to have to be done if we had to do the directional drilling.
And this is all still covered under the grant?
Yes.
Move approval of the change order.
Second.
Is there discussion?
My only question is, it does say additional patching on Gifford Road. I know there's been constant pushback on the impact on Gifford Road there. Is this patching, is this overlaying, is it kind of cleaning up some of the mess there?
So on Gifford Road, we did, we milled and overlaid sections of that patch. It's much better. And eventually, this fall, the street is going to be completely overlaid.
Okay.
So the patches that are out there are temporary at this point.
The overlay that they're doing the fall, is that our expense or is it part of the project?
Part of the project,
Okay.
part of the grant.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have, were you yes?
I said,
We
I don't
have-
agree with the project. I'll say aye to fixing the mess that they made.
Okay. I was thinking you were going to object, but.
No,
Okay.
listen, you gotta fix what's destroyed.
Okay, so four in favor and one absence. We have a request to approve contract with EJ Prescott for water meters for $40,729.90. Jim?
It is same project, but now Grant installed the water mains. We installed services to a number of the houses. We've always purchased the water meters for the users, and this would be a separate solicitation bid proposal that we went out for.
And these are the water meters that you just drive by and it reads it, right?
Yes, they read automatically.
And is this part of the grant funding?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion or any questions? Do you have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
I'll second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'll oppose this one.
So we have 3 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absence. We have a request from Michael Burris for a letter of support for Serpid's application for State Streets for All SS4A grant program. Jim, do you want to tell us about this?
I don't know a lot of the details. This is a grant that the Serpide Regional Planning Agency is applying for, safe streets and roads. I don't know a lot of the details. There's a letter here, a draft letter, that's in your packet. They're just asking for a support letter from the town of Westport.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Move we submit a letter of support for the Safe Streets Grant.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 in favor and 1 absent. Select Board Office Staff Reorganization. Jim? Is there anything about this one to talk about?
I don't have a lot. We did have a meeting last week where we discussed some options. It was left in my court to get some additional information back to the group. We're hoping to have something before the Select Board at the next meeting, July 7th.
So Craig and Jake, you guys were working with him on this, right? Do you have anything you want to add?
We probably need another meeting before that, that's all. It was a good meeting. We talked a little bit about the additional position, or the refined position, we designed the position. And we also talked about I'm confusing it with our last meeting, at least on the other stuff, we were just going over some of those recommendations. Okay, Jake?
Yeah, I think coming out of that meeting, I think, we have a clearer idea of kind of delineation of some of the roles that we're replacing. I think my only concern is that we're basically hiring the 2 positions that, run the town. So my concern is that hopefully, there may be somebody internally or a Westport person that is somewhat involved that could maybe apply for these positions. Because bringing in two brand-new people as a town administrator and then the assistant, I mean, there's going to be a pretty steep learning curve to understand kind of what's going on in Westport. So that is my concern. I know we're going to talk about maybe an RFP for executive search committee. I actually would like to lean towards actually a Westport internal committee to lead that charge, but that's just my opinion. We're going to have some more meetings on that, but I'm just concerned that bringing two brand-new people in and might be an issue.
My concern was that we have a town administrator, and we're going to have an assistant to the town administrator, but not an assistant town administrator. And so when looking at, and I'll give you the clearest example. So if you get X number of department heads that report directly to the town administrator, we still have to finagle what happens, because we're not going to have dual reporting responsibilities. But there may be some sharing of the management functions of the town administrator currently has, particularly in the area of personnel, for example, that we would see this assistant to the town administrator focusing on those. So you're not really changing you're upgrading the position, you're not changing the chain of command, so to speak, but you're providing some additional responsibilities to this new position that'll make the town administrator's job more manageable. We've talked about span of control, we talk about every time we have a discussion about this, but more specifically, that there are some things that some towns have that we don't. And with the number of employees that we have and the number of the department heads with employees, and we have X number of unions that we have to deal with, the whole idea of personnel management is part of what I think the strains on this job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well, we look forward to hearing more. Anything else on that? Okay, town administrator report.
A couple of updates. Going to have on-site shredding on July 30th of next month. So we've contacted all the departments. We've asked them to look through their old files, whatever disclosures or whatever notification they have to give to the state. They will be doing that, but we're looking at approximately 300 boxes of papers that we'll be able to shred. They will come here to the town hall first and shred the material here, then they'll go over to the annex and do the same. I see Mr. Chase out here. He had also mentioned that there's a number of filing cabinets at the harbor master's office, so I haven't reached out to you yet, but I will. We may be able to shred some of those as well, so. They've done this, they haven't done this probably for about, I want to say 8 to 10 years. They used to do it on a somewhat regular basis, so we will get back on that. Surplus equipment and vehicles. Mr. McGuigan kind of nudged me on this one last week. We haven't had an auction in about 2 years, 2.5 years, so we sent notice out to all the departments, asking them to take a look to see what vehicles, what equipment they have that we can put up for auction and dispose of. If it's obsolete, we would just dispose of it. If it has any value, we would auction it off. These will be presented to the select board at an upcoming meeting, hopefully beginning of August, to get their approval on the surplus, and then they will go out for auction. An update on the Macumber Loop Water Project. Work continues. All the mains are in on Gifford Road, Osborne, East Briggs Road. We still had that crossing that I just talked to you about on Bread and Cheese Brook. Now that that change order has been approved, we hope to get that work done in the next 4 to 8 weeks. Service connections to the houses have been done. We're probably about 80 to 85% done with those service connections, which has been quite a task for our project manager. Roger Fernandes done an excellent job just coordinating. You have to coordinate every service connection with the homeowner to make sure they're there when the work is being done. He actually went out ahead of time, located the septic systems, drilled the foundations so that when we're paying the contractor to do this work, everything was set up and ready to go. So that's been a big help. But the residents that are receiving the water have been extremely happy, extremely pleased. Many of them have poor water, many of them have Some of them don't have water that's, the volume of water that they need, others, the condition of the water is just not acceptable. So it has been a benefit to many, and there's been many in that area that have had to live with the construction over the last 6 months, and we're very appreciative of them just bearing with us while we get this project completed. Transfer station paving, we had a grant from Senator, an earmark from Senator Rodrick last year, so Madam Mindo has been working with that earmark to get some work done in the transfer station. They did some additional paving, cleaned it up. They were able to purchase a new shed, which should be coming in shortly. They're actually going to paint the existing sheds to kind of make it all uniform, and they'll be striping in the near future. They also, I believe, included some signage as part of that earmark. So overall, the Board of Health, Mr. Mindo, and people down at the transfer station have done quite a job of changing that overall appearance over the last 4 to 5 years. So appreciate of the work that they do down there, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. We have minutes of June 2nd.
Motion to approve minutes from June 2nd.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor, 1 absent. A report on the bill warrant.
Bill warrant, there was only one this time, and total of 2.2 million, which is quite usual, nothing out of the ordinary. I don't know if this made it into your package, but I have the copy with me anyway. So, all in order.
All right, thank you. So we have liaison committee reports and suggestion for future agenda items. So Craig, you want to start?
Well, nothing new to report, but the two committees that I usually report on are meeting this week. So the opioid settlement advisory committee is meeting on Tuesday, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And the Affordable Housing Trust is meeting with on Wednesday night. With respect to the Affordable Housing Trust, I will be attending earlier that day the Housing Authority meeting. We've had some discussions about use of some of the funds that we have available under the purview of the Affordable Housing Trust to not only expand the availability of affordable housing in town, but to maintain the quality of the affordable housing in town. And after conversations with our liaison of the Community Preservation Committee, we believe that there can be some of the funding that we have for those types of purposes can be used to make sure that we're maintaining and preserving the affordable housing that we have, and that the funds have been used in other communities for that type of purpose. And secondly, that is also, in Greenwood Terrace, there is other land behind it that is potentially available. We've talked about this in the past in terms of we have an RFP out there for available parcels that we might be able to identify and possibly develop. And this may become, maybe looked at in tandem with that. So.
All right, thank you. Dick?
We have a new committee, as you know. I was appointed to the Westport Open Space and Recreation Committee. And we had our first meeting. Just briefly, I want to tell you about it. The primary goal of this committee, which is dubbed the Steering Committee, is to review a document that Jim Hartnett is familiar with. He probably wrote it. You can see it's very extensive. But this is the town's open space and recreation plan. This was created in 2016 and was updated again in 2018. So one of the tasks is to go through this and update it in many respects. Also, out of that will come discussions about the use of open space and recreation. And a lot of the conversation takes place with the Land Trust. Actually, we hold our meeting at the Westport Woods building there at the Land Trust. So we're off and running. You're going to hear about this. There'll be, I think, a table at River Day, and there'll be some public outreach, and we'll be hearing more about that to get opinions from the public on a number of these items and what we should be doing and how we should alter the plan and where we should focus in terms of land use and recreation. The two go together, and that's our task. This project will take about a year. So I wanted to share that with you. If anybody would like to read this, I'll be glad to relinquish this for a couple of days and do so. And that's all I have. I did meet with the Council on Aging. There was just a regular meeting, and actually the item that Beverly Bish had brought forward earlier this evening was discussed. I should have mentioned that. So those are my reports, Madam Chair.
Okay. I was looking, I haven't been on any subcommittee meetings recently, but there is a school building committee meeting on June 24. That committee hasn't met in a while. So June 24, there's a school building committee. I forgot earlier, so you mentioned it, River Day is Saturday, is the 21st on Saturday down at the Head. And then obviously they have the 4th of July parade coming up. So that's all for me. Jake?
No real updates. Actually, I just had a question on, I know the one before with Manny on the Economic Development Task Force. There are 2 vacancies. Is there a stipulation in any of them that 2 select board members can sit on a committee if they want? That way we would avoid.
I don't think we have, I mean, no, we have.
You could have more than
select
2
board
on-
members.
on
We have
committees.
2 select board members on the long-term building committee.
Okay. So that may avoid, if he didn't want it on there anymore. There's 2 vacancies anyway, so I was just looking at that. The only update I have, Jim and I have been working on Hicksbridge Landing, and hopefully we'll have a decision maybe by the end of this week. I'm going to meet with them on Thursday. I think we've tried to hammer out some of the issues. We're aiming just really for a short-term solution, and then look at it at a longer term, whether it's whatever that may be, but just hopefully see if we can get it to a point where we can get it open this year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention, so town hall is closed on the 19th, right?
Yes.
So June 19th, Thursday, June 19th is a holiday, so town hall will be closed. And all the town stuff will be closed. All right, do we have any comments or statements from the public? We have a public
We have the public here, 2 members.
He's like so excited to start his new job. He's like here already. All right. We do not have any items for the under the 48-hour rule, so I think we're done.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor, 1. Thank you, gentlemen.